Hello, hello. Happy Sunday to you all. My name is KJ Hamus, and I'm really glad to be with you here on this Sunday for our evening yin practice. Hopefully a great way to unwind from the weekend and give a little bit of an extra chance to rest and prepare for the week coming up. So beautiful, comfortable position that's going to feel really good for you and your body. So that can be in a comfortable seat, maybe on a pillow, if you see, or on a block or on a blanket. That can also be legs up the wall. Feel free to go to a wall, stick those legs up, and if you decide you love it there, stay there the whole time. That's totally cool. On your back, on your stomach, any other position that just really calls to you and feels good for this opening, in a place start to truly let go and find a little bit of extra release and hopefully a little bit of relaxation as we come into it. So I'm going to ring the bell. I'm going to invite the bell to bring us into our practice today. And as I do so, I invite you to take a couple of deep breaths in and out. As we arrive in our practice, we take a moment to acknowledge the stewards of land that we are on. Here in Washington, D.C., we are on Anacostan land. We also take time to honor the roots of yoga, honoring the indigenous teachers who brought us this practice from India today, and those teachers who came from India and brought us this practice 5,000 years ago. We thank them, we honor them, we move in this space. Beginning to draw your awareness to your breath. There's no change in the breath, just noticing how it's moving in this moment. Letting the sounds of the outside world fade away. You start to draw your focus inward, bringing your attention to the low belly. Observing the rise of the inhale and the fall of the exhale. Acknowledging the presence of the breath, how it's moving in the body, what it's bringing with it as it enters the body. And the areas of the body that might be a little bit more bound or tied up tonight, where the breath feels stopped or a bit more stagnant. As you take this observation, do so without judgment, reminding ourselves that we're going to show up differently every time to our practice, based on what it took to come, whether there were challenges to get here tonight, whether there were challenges throughout the day that we've had to overcome, whatever emotions we're carrying with us. It's all okay. Observe the breath. As you notice the weight of your body on the mat and the temperature in the room and how that feels on the skin, can you expand the breath throughout the whole body gently? mindfully. And becoming more aware of the physical aspects of how you're showing up this evening. Starting to let go of that which is not serving you. Feeling the support of the earth underneath you while feeling that connection to the earth. We begin to draw focus to our heart space, center of the chest, the queen of all the parts in the body. Begin to notice what emotions you're carrying with you this evening. Whether there are emotions that have come from this weekend, whether they're new. Take a moment to acknowledge those feelings and even just start to allow yourself to feel them a bit more completely. It's okay in this moment, especially in any moment, really throughout this practice, to show up mad, sad, angry, tired, happy, silly, whatever they may be. You're in the right place. And this might be a nice time if you'd like to set an intention or focus for your practice. Honoring what brings you here to your mat this evening. What are you hoping to cultivate and take with you and the weekend to start the rest of the week? And then as you're ready, begin to bring the focus to the space between the eyes, our third eye center, the seat of our intuition. Begin to observe the mind and how the thoughts are moving through the brain. So notice that there's a lot of activity in the brain tonight. If you're thinking about the to-do list, dinner, the awesome things that you're able to do this weekend or haven't yet accomplished, take a moment to just give those thoughts one more acknowledgement. And then if you're carrying a lot of thoughts with you, I invite you to gather up all those thoughts, maybe give them a good squeeze, kindness and compassion, and then lightly show them out, telling them you can return back to them later, beginning to let the mind soften. And as thoughts enter in and out, because they will, the brain is designed to think that's just what it does, and that's okay. Do your best not to engage with thoughts. And if you do, when you acknowledge it, when you notice it, just go, cool, I'll come back to it. And see if you can let that go. Remember, some days that's going to be really easy. Some days it's going to be a bit more of a challenge. We'll start to link up our breath with maybe an affirmation if that calls to you to help us clear the distractions of the mind. So beginning to breathe down the length of the entire body, the length of the spine. Slowly, gently allowing the belly to fill up naturally. And then as you exhale, feel the breath travel up the length of the body, leading through the heart space if that calls to you. Maybe leading through your throat if you feel like your voice could use a little bit of extra opening. Or even leading through the crown of the head if that won't disrupt the thoughts too much. lead with compassion, conviction, positive thinking, whatever you need. And I invite in an affirmation of I am this evening. So breathing in, I am. And breathing out, I am. And that can have many different meanings. For you, for your neighbor. Start to observe if you invite that affirmation in throughout the practice, what that does for you on an individual level. Wherever you're at, continue to become familiar with your breath, using the breath to soften the mind, whether that's with the affirmation or without. Maybe you have another tool in your toolbox that you'll use. We'll be here for about another minute or so. Becoming more familiar and hopefully a bit more comfortable with letting the mind still, letting the body begin to release. As you're ready, keeping gentle awareness on your breath, begin to make your way to a comfortable seat at the top of the mat. I'm going to stay on my pillow for this next shape. Feel free to join me, whether that's sitting on a block or a blanket, elevating the hips above the knees. We're going to come into butterfly pose. So bringing the soles of the feet to touch and adjust the angle of the feet to maybe more of a diamond shape. That may help the back round a bit more for a bit more relaxed fit, and that might get you a bit more into the low back. If you draw your feet in a little more, you're likely to feel a stretch inside of the legs. Still get into the low back, but it might not be as pronounced as if the legs were out a little further. And start to explore what that means for you. Let the head hang nice and heavy. Now, heaviness can become awkward, so you can always rest your head on a block, blanket, or come into the I'm bored look, resting your head into your hands. Completely up to you, whatever works for you here. And as we get into the shapes, thinking about the intention and the feeling behind the shape. So butterfly can be known to help support the stretching of the low back. If you're doing a lot in your legs this week, you may be feeling it in the hamstrings. So there's no right or wrong. It's about how you're feeling, not only physically, but what's starting to come up emotionally. As we're leaning forward, we're really focusing on the spine and that main energy channel. So if you notice during your initial observation, the energy felt blocked, or you felt like the breath was able to move easily, see if that started to change. And use this as a chance to let the breath support the backside of the body, almost as protection for the front side of the body. There's a lot of things happening emotionally. So again, don't worry about doing the shape right or wrong. There's not such a thing. As long as you're not harming yourself physically or emotionally, you're doing everything you need to be doing in this moment. Breathing here slowly and gently. Letting any movements that you may need to take, be mindful. As you're here, you might find that you need to prop blocks underneath the knees in some way, using whatever level feels good. The hands might come in the legs, out. Again, explore the shape. Start to find stillness. Easing into the shape over the next several minutes. On your next exhale, slowly start to walk your hands up the legs. Might feel good to bring your hands behind you, just opening up the heart, taking a counter stretch, slight back bend. You can straighten the legs, start to shake them out one at a time, or even windshield wiper the feet from side to side. And then as you're ready, we're going to come into our next shape. We'll take shoelace pose. We'll take two variations, stacking them one on top of the other. So we're going to start with the variation that will likely target the IT band. So keep your left leg nice and straight, and then cross one leg over the other. From here, allow the right heel to come toward the left glute. And then pick up your left foot or just scooch it over a bit more toward the center. Now, by doing this, you might not be feeling it so much in the IT band. You're like, yes, I feel that in my calf. If you need a calf stretch tonight, hang out here. That's perfectly great. Sometimes we need that. Or you can start to fold forward. The more you let the head hang heavy and just be, the more likely you're going to feel it up the side of the leg. You can always bring a block on top of the knee. You can always sit up too on your pillow once again. If there's any knee challenges in the bottom leg, grab your blocks or your books and place one underneath the leg and then sit up on the other one. So you've got some evenness here, and see if that helps relieve the challenge. If it doesn't, maybe put a slight bend in the knee just for additional support. You might explore flexing the foot to see how that changes where you feel the sensation in the body. We're working towards sensation, discomfort, but not pain. So if you feel any pain, back out of the shape a little bit. Don't force anything. You got time? You have the option to stay right here, or you can transition to the other variation of shoelace, which you would do by bending the the left knee, and drawing the left heel toward the right glute, stacking one knee on top of the other. You can stay lifted if you feel this on the outside. It'll probably be in the right hip, or you can fold forward if you'd like to maybe deepen your sensation. Another option, depending on how your shoulders feel and your upper body feel, that you can take a variation on the arms. So opposite arm, opposite leg. Bring your left arm behind you, and maybe you just bring your right hand on top of the elbow. Does not have to go down very far. But try and keep a nice straight spine if you're doing this. If you have the complete bind in your hand, by bringing the right hand behind you, so working both internal and external rotation, please feel free to take that, but you don't have to. This might be exactly what you need, that stretch along the arm. I did a little bit of triceps today, so this was feeling quite nice for me. But again, this is only optional. Take what you need. As you're ready, on your next exhale, you release the hand if you took that variation. Straighten out the legs. Take what movement feels good. Moans and groans are always acceptable after coming out of yin shape. So if it happens, cool. And then from here, we're going to move on to the other side. So our right leg's going to be extended long. We'll cross the legs one over the other, and then draw the left heel toward the right glute once again. Scoot your right foot a bit more toward the center of your mat, or just over a little bit, depending on what you're using. And then if you folded the last time, feel free to fold. Stay here if that calf stretch is what you need. And just be in the shape. Let's take a breath in, out. Option to stay here. Option to take the other variation by drawing your right heel towards your left glute. You can stay lifted. You can fold if you'd like. Feel free to take the arm variation. This time we'll bring our right arm behind us. You have the fuller version of the cow facing arms in your practice. Feel free to take that, but it is not necessary. Your next exhale, go ahead and release the arm if you took that variation. Slowly unwind the legs. And as you take any movement that you need, begin to find your way onto your back for a puddle pose. It's exactly what it sounds like. Place to melt like a puddle. Puddle of water, puddle of chocolate, puddle of donuts. You decide. And just take some time to observe how the body feels after those 3 shapes. Notice the breath, physical nature of the body, emotional and the mental nature as well. What may have come up for you during those shapes? What may have gone away? What might you need for the second half of the practice? Has your intention changed? From here, start to draw your left knee into your chest, interlacing the fingers just below the knee and bringing the leg outside the rib cage. You won't be here for very long, but just feel as if you're hugging the knee into your chest. This also might be a great time to grab a strap if you like it, for this next shape. The two variations may call for it. Or you can use your towel or your blanket, which is nearby. On your next inhale, straighten your left leg up to the sky, nice and gentle. And then slowly with your hands, draw the left leg across the body. So flex the foot, working to bring the leg out directly from the hip. So working into, again, the outer part of the leg into the IT band. Experiment with how you flex the foot, so where you feel that sensation. You have the option to stay here. You might want to wrap the strap around the foot. If you do so, think of the strap as an extension of your arm, not as something you're gripping onto for dear life, forcing your leg to straighten or forcing yourself to feel that stretch. That's option one. Option two would be bending your bottom leg, coming into cat pulling its tail pose. And this might be where the strap feels handy here on your bottom leg, your right leg. Again, thinking of this as an extension of the arm. By taking this variation, you're also working into the front hip flexor of your bottom leg. Again, the straps are an extension, not something we're grabbing onto for dear life and forcing our body to do what we think it should do. These are just tools to help us be able to get into our body a little bit more and understand them while still having love and compassion for where we're at. So we'll breathe here. As you settle into this shape, coming back to the affirmation if you've taken it, letting your breath soften, working, not really working, to let it become effortless. So the more we're able to let go and just be in the moment, you may find there's not as much work physically with the breath. your next exhale, go ahead and begin to unwind. However feels good for you. Taking any movement that you'd like. And then from here, as you're ready, begin to bring your right knee into your chest. And interlacing the fingers just below the knee, drawing the leg outside the ribcage. On an inhale, straighten your right leg up to the sky, and then exhale, cross the leg over the body. Working to bring the leg directly out from the hip. You can stay here, adjusting and experimenting with the flex of the foot, or you can come into cat pulling its tail. So you stretch also the top of the left hip flexor, using your strap or your blanket or your towel, once again, as an extension of the arm. On your next inhale, begin to slowly unwind however feels good to you, being kind and gentle. Taking any movements that you might need or just finding stillness. We'll come into our final shape here. And we're going to take broken wing pose. So as you're ready, roll onto your right side of your body and extend the left arm up into the air. As you bend the arm, bring the top of the hand onto the back so that when you roll over, the bottom of the hand is pressing into the ground. This is going to start to open up the shoulder and target our heart meridian. So experiment and explore where you want the position of the hand. I've found that the higher up it goes, the more intense it can be, the lower down of the back, more restorative. Legs can be straight, or legs can be bent. Maybe even place a pillow underneath the legs just for additional support, especially if the low back is feeling a little tiny tonight. Continuing to breathe, softening the body as you go. As you exhale, go ahead and release your arm, rolling onto the right side. Maybe you shake it out a bit. And then coming through center as you're ready, rolling onto the other side, extending the right arm up into the air. As you bend at the elbow, bring the top of the hand to the back. So when you roll over, the bottom of the hand is on the earth. Take a couple of breaths here to adjust and find where it feels best for you this evening. And that can be totally different than the other side. Try and let the shoulder release into the earth. Just breathe. Taking one final breath in this shape. Begin to roll onto your left side, releasing the right hand. Taking any final movements you may need before coming into Savasana, final resting pose. So again, feel free to move to legs up the wall if you'd like. You can be on your back, on your belly, maybe your blanket or your pillows or your blocks come underneath the knees. Whatever feels best for you. And as you arrive in this moment, I invite you to take a full breath in. And then exhale, sigh it out, let it all go. Let's take that 2 more times. Full breath in. Exhale, sigh it out, let it go. And final time, breath in. And exhale, sigh it out. You are here. Let the ground support you and hold you up. Let go of observation. And just be in this moment. Let each muscle turn off. Letting the eyes soften. Jaw release. Shoulders droop down the back. The body might feel heavy or it might feel light. There's no work involved in holding yourself up. You have nothing else to do. This is the only thing to do, and that is to rest. Begin to invite some gentle movement into the body. Wiggling fingers, wiggling toes. Taking your time to reawaken the senses as you find your way to a comfortable seat. And we'll lift our hands to our heart space, honoring the intention or focus you have set at the beginning of your practice. And we'll bow our heads to our hands, coming into a moment of gratitude, thanking ourselves for making time for our practice, and silently thanking those who joined us this evening to create this virtual community in this virtual space. As we lift our thumbs to the space between the eyes, the third eye center, the seat of the intuition, we honor the indigenous teachers who've come before us. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Peace, Peace, Peace. Thank you all so very much for joining me this evening. I wanted to thank my special guest teacher, Chug the Pup, for making some appearances and reminding us just to let things go. So I hope you all have had a fantastic practice, and I look forward to sharing this practice with you again. Have a good evening.